Good afternoon, Kitchissippi. It is Sunday, May the 4th. For those who celebrate, may the 4th be with you. This is a video version of the 435th Kitchissippi Weekly Ward newsletter, and as always, there is lots more information about all the topics that we'll discuss in the weekly email newsletter, to which you can subscribe at kitchissippiward.ca. I am going to be hosting my next pop-up office hours. Those are coming up on May the 17th. That's Saturday, and I'll be at the opening of the Westboro Farmers Market somewhere in the vicinity of Golden Byron. We'll be under cover if it starts to rain, but hopefully the weather is just as awesome as it is this morning. So those hours are going to be from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. at the opening of the Westboro Farmers Market on May the 17th. Just a note in the newsletter, there are some open houses coming up about the draft comprehensive zoning bylaw. The second draft of that comprehensive zoning bylaw is out. There are going to be a variety of in-person and virtual consultations on that. There will be an in-person open house on Monday, June the 2nd at Ben Franklin Place. There will be virtual open houses on Thursday, May 29th and Tuesday, June the 3rd. Registration for the virtual open houses will be open on May the 15th. You can visit my newsletter for the link to the registration information. It is important to get up to speed with that comprehensive zoning bylaw. It is going to introduce significant new development permissions, so that's density, that's height, all across the city. Get up to speed with what city staff are proposing in the second draft before we go to a third draft sometime this autumn for a final vote on the new zoning bylaw in December. The Committee of Adjustment is coming up on May the 7th once again. There is a application at 256 Northwestern. The applicants are seeking to subdivide the property into two separate parcels to establish separate ownership for each half of the semi-detached that is under construction. City staff, however, have asked for an adjournment of that hearing. They've identified what looks like an additional variance that might be needed, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that May 7th hearing for that 256 Northwestern property adjourned until a later date. And the applications are now up for the May 21st Committee of Adjustment as well. At 214 Cowley, the owners are seeking to permit a reduced side yard, increased eave projection, and front-facing garage for the conversion of a carport into a garage with a second-story addition. And at 196 Clare, the owners are seeking to subdivide the property into two parcels for the construction of a semi-detached dwelling with a front-facing attached garage, reduced corner side yard setback, and increased building height. I'm also going to note here, I've received the appeal by the owners of 100 Hamilton Avenue North. They were refused by the Committee of Adjustment for an infill that I know the community felt was a little too grasping. However, the owners have appealed that to the Ontario Land Tribunal, so we'll keep track of how that one turns out. Probably too late for many of you, but OC Transpo is free all weekend, May 3rd and 4th. I was down in Herdman yesterday. They had a ton of activities. There was music, there was free coffee at Happy Goat Coffee. Quite the happening. I met a lot of people on the train who were taking advantage of the free transit to take their kids to show them the train, head down to the airport, check out the new lines 2 and 4. Tons of fun. But if this video does make it out to you in time for a transit trip, that is free all weekend. And I am starting to get a number of requests now to be added to the 2025 Kitchissippi Community Yard Sale map. If your household is intending to participate on June the 7th, send me an email at jeff.leeper@ottawa.ca and I'll be happy to add you to that map. I've heard in past from both residents and from people coming in from out of the area that that map is quite helpful in directing them in terms of where to go. A number of things happening in the community. The Friends of the Farm is hosting its plant sale on May the 11th. So that's next Sunday from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. That's going to happen rain or shine in the parking lot to the east of the KW Neatby building. There'll be Master Gardeners of Ottawa Carleton on hand, seedlings, lots of plants for sale. So that is always a great event. Go ahead on out and check it out as we approach the peak of the gardening season coming up. And at All Saints, before which I'm standing today, on May 24th, they're going to be hosting a Ceilidh. It's a fundraiser. They're hoping to raise about $10,000. There will be dance-inspiring Ceilidh music from gigs to Celtic sing-alongs. There will be festive drinks, although they tell me there is no green beer. And there's going to be food prepared and served buffet style, served by Lamb's Cafe. I have a link in the newsletter to get your tickets. Sounds like a great night out. A number of things that are happening at City Hall as well. The Finance and Corporate Services Committee meeting is meeting on Tuesday, May the 6th. I don't anticipate that that's going to be a particularly contentious meeting. They'll have the report, or we'll have the report on the 2024 procurement year in review, an overview of 2024 lease financing agreements, the 2025 update to federal and provincial accessibility plans. There are some expropriations I would characterize as relatively routine associated with the Bank Street rebuild down in the South End. And there's also an interesting memo with the agenda that quantifies the savings to the city as a result of the federal government's decision to eliminate the carbon tax. So as a result of the decision to eliminate that tax, no matter how you feel about whether that was an appropriate move or not, it is going to be saving the city some significant money. The Planning and Housing Committee then is going to meet on May the 7th. We have a relatively brief list of items. One of those is a rezoning that would be necessary to allow basically laser tag be located in the Hazeldean Mall. So there's a rezoning to add, I think, amusement park to the list of permitted uses at the Hazeldean Mall. That would all be indoors. And I know a number of us are keen to see some new life breathed into that property. And then there is also a relatively workaday item that would give staff the delegated authority to work out affordable housing agreements with developers who are building affordable housing and seeking development charge exemptions, as was allowed recently by provincial law. There is also a memo on the agenda that I expect will be lifted up for discussion to get into staff's response to the potential removal of Taywin from the urban boundary. So Taywin is that brand new community that City Council approved in the course of creating the last official plan down in the southeast area. There was a motion that was put forward by Councillor Kavanagh to remove that from the urban boundary. She withdrew that motion, mostly because right now there is no representative as a result of the by-election there who can address that through the process. But staff were in the process of creating their comments in response to that Kavanagh motion. As a result of direction from Councillor Gower, those comments have been put in memo form on the agenda of our meeting. I expect the councillors will want to have some discussion about that memo. There is also a response to an inquiry that was made by Councillor Johnson with respect to how people get notified of developments in their area. I'm not sure if that one is going to be lifted. There is also a memo having to do with the eventual rebuild of O'Connor. Let me make sure I got that right. Sorry. Yes, of O'Connor, as a result of the big new redevelopment at the former Greyhound stop. I don't anticipate that that one will be brought up for discussion, no. At the Built Heritage Committee on May the 13th, there are an absolute whack of reports. There is a proposal to designate 172 O'Connor, designate several former Bell Telephone Exchange buildings, designate 323, 327 Rideau Street, all with heritage protection. Two buildings in our ward are up for recommended designation with heritage protection: the St. Francois d'Assise Church on Wellington West, as well as the mosque on Northwestern. There is also a motion on the table to repeal the designation of the properties at 3844 Clarence, 520 Queen Elizabeth Driveway, and 1518 Stittsville, Maine from the properties that have heritage protection, as well notably removing heritage protection from the Lemieux Island bridge. I haven't had a chance to take a close look at that report or understand what the motivation is for that, but by the time the meeting rolls around, I'm certain to have a number of thoughts. There is also going to be an update on the heritage watch list provided. So that's a number of heritage properties across the city that are just kind of sitting there that city staff are keeping an eye on. One of those is the Ashcroft property, the convent. I'm looking forward to getting an update from whatever the latest is on that. Also in the newsletter, I have with respect to all of those committee meetings, I have links to the agenda with all the associated documents in the newsletter. And also in the newsletter this week, I've got very popular, if I take a look at the links that people are clicking, list of programs that are happening at the Rosemount Library. So you'll want to check that out. Kitchissippi, we are starting to get into some beautiful summer weather. I hope you enjoy a fantastic week, and thank you for watching.